G'day everyone, welcome to another video by myself, Andrew DFT. And of course, welcome to part 3 of the How to Clone Scout Trooper web series. Yeah! And of course, in today's video, we're going to be tackling the arms on the Trooper. So we're going to go ahead and work on the shoulders, the biceps, and the elbows. So hopefully by the end of the tutorial, you should have something that looks like this. Yeah! The arms should all be sitting on there nicely, the bicep will be wrapped around so that way you can flex and you won't have to worry about it popping, as well as the elbow will be tied on with some nice elastic, so that way you've got that nice flexible motion. You're not going to have to worry about it breaking at any time, as well as the shoulder just being strapped on with some elastic there, and it should just hold to the chest plate. But for the most part, it's a very simple, very unique Star Wars Clone Trooper or Stormtrooper design, so hopefully you guys can master it and have both arms completed so you can make your way one step closer to that finished design. But of course, let's jump into the tutorial and get you guys building it now. Alright, so to get started, go ahead and print out the template and cut it out of its sheet. You're going to be using one piece for the shoulder, which you'll then of course flip to get two sides for this armor piece. Now what we're going to need to do is, of course, these are going to have to fit together. To do that, we're going to need to bevel this interior edge. You can simply go ahead and put a 45-degree angle into that side, and then go ahead and heat up the piece. Now, in doing this, you're going to now need to make it kind of like a turtle shell effect, something that kind of curves over rather nice and sits in there relatively well. Now, when you're doing this, you're going to go ahead and carefully, with a hot glue gun, piece together these sections. You're going to need to carefully just go through and apply it in and work your way down. Now, I should have mentioned, you're only going to need to bevel one armor side. You don't need to bevel both of them, otherwise you'll have a very acute beveled sharpness going on, but you just need to bevel one side and leave the other one as it is. Once you've gone ahead and beveled that, you're going to heat up the sides panels, which you're then going to apply some tape to allow it to kind of bring together and be a bit more rounded rather than a very circular piece. Once that piece is of course set and the tape is being removed, you can then grab a nice sharp craft blade and take the edge off the beveled point. That way it's no longer an acute angle, it's a bit more smooth. And of course you can take some art clay and simply smooth it out even further, which I've got a tutorial for in another video, so the link is in the description box below. Now we can of course move on to the elbow plate. Go ahead, grab it from the paper, cut it out, apply it to the foam, and then simply trace it out onto the 1/4 inch and cut it free. You will need to flip it of course to get the second left or right, whatever the opposing side is for you. Now what we'll do is go and cut out these dashed lines indicating we're going to do some kind of technique to it. In this case we're going to do a hinge technique similar to what we've done in other pieces, like on the helmet. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and cut in halfway through the foam, not all the way through, you don't want to stuff it up, halfway through the foam, and then come back in on a side and cut it into a 45-degree angle. This will allow a nice little hinge technique to happen. Then you can go ahead and heat up the whole piece with a heat gun, which will give it a bit more malleableness, and then you can apply some hot glue or whatever art cement, whatever adhesive you choose, into those seams and then bend the edges. Once it dries, it will give us this nice kind of look, which is ideal because that's really what we're after. Now to create this to be able to wrap around your bicep, you're going to need to make a strand. So we'll do this by grabbing the template and then simply transferring the whole section onto a 1/4 inch piece of foam. Once that's cut out, you can then go ahead and heat it up and wrap it around or bend it so that way it has a nice shape already going on. Then you're going to glue one side to the main elbow piece, or sorry, bicep piece. The way you're going to do this is you're actually going to glue it a bit below, so it's kind of like a stepped terraced effect. Once that side is set, you can then apply it to your arm, find the thickness that best suits you, allowing some flexing to go on and not rip it apart, and then you can simply cut away the excess and then glue the remaining side into position. And like I can show you there, that gives it the nice kind of terraced effect, which creates a far more 3D looking cool appearance. So why not? From there, you're going to go ahead and cut out this section, this rectangles template here, and transfer that onto some foam. This is going to be just a slight piece of detail that sits above it. I'm really not sure what it actually is. I just saw it on the initial design, so I tried to replicate it as best I can, so that's what we're doing. You can then heat it up so it kind of curves with the natural flow of the wraparound strand, and then you can simply go and glue it into position like that. Now to add a bit more detail and a bit more levels, we're going to go ahead and grab this template, form it up, tape it together, transfer that onto a 1/2 inch thickness The other piece we just did as well was also on 1/2 inch, just saying. And then go ahead and start to break apart the template and throw in those horizontal lines that will help designate the spaces for this construction. Now once you've got all those lines on, you're actually going to cut out the internal segment away from the outside perimeter. So that way you should have these 3 individual compartments. Now with the internal compartment, we're actually going to cut it in half to make it a bit thinner, so that way we have a cool 3D kind of change going on in the heights. So take a nice depth line, add it halfway through the thickness, and then very carefully go ahead and cut it out with a nice sharp craft blade. So there you go, you have a nice kind of 3-tiered effect going on for different heights, and then simply go ahead and glue these into position, nicely wrapping it around the bicep. Now of course you will notice that it doesn't fit 100%, you've got a whole bunch of excess. That's fine, that's because we didn't know how thick your biceps were, so simply cut away the excess and make it flush. Now you will need to do for these larger 1/2 inch pieces a nice beveled edge on the end, or at least one end, just to account for the nice kind of wraparound smooth form that we've got on that rectangle piece. You'll understand when you start to assemble it, but as long as you do that and then of course cut off the excess once you've glued it all in, we get a really nice cool looking piece there. Now to finish off the arms, we'll go ahead and do the elbow plate. Now the elbow plate is very easy. All you need to do is grab the template, cut it free from the paper, and then simply transfer it onto the 1/4 inch foam. Now once you've got that, all you need to do is grab the heat gun and simply heat this part up and make it form a round so that it has a nice wrapping effect, which of course will go around the elbow. And then all you need to do is grab some elastic and then make sure you have enough elastic to glue the 2 sides together and have your arm slot through nicely. You do want it to be rather tight because the elastic will allow for the flexing, but you don't want it too loose that it will just simply fall off your arm every time you move. But that's it. It's actually rather comfy, so I've been wearing it the whole time, but hopefully you guys have come out with a nice outcome that you're happy with, and it isn't really that hard to build, so you shouldn't have had too much trouble. Now this is optional, but for me what I did is, this is actually the left gauntlet, bicep, sorry, because it has this kind of rectangular section on. That defines it as being the left, because that one will be the main point of focus. Of course, if I flip it on this side, you can't see it because it's hidden behind the tricep. But if you wanted to do 2, you're more than welcome, but mainly having this detail, this core strand going across, is for the left, as it's just more of a signature piece. I did that also on my left, on my trooper here. On my right, as you can see, this side focused on this, but on the other side it's just blank. But that's completely up to you. I mean, I push you guys to customize this costume as much as you personally want to make it different from everyone else's. But that's it, of course. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It lets me know you enjoyed the content. If you have people and friends who want to make this, definitely throw them a link, get them involved so we can have plenty of clones here in the community. And go ahead and click on part 4, where we're going to go ahead and tackle the main core vest section. This is a lot of different materials and fabrics and compartments in it. It might look difficult, but it's actually relatively easy. It just requires a bit of patience. I actually approached this using sewing, but we can achieve it using hot glue or other kind of cements. So let's jump into it. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Until then, catch you later.